Hi guys, thanks everyone for being here. My name is Bart-Jan, as introduced. I'm the owner and the founder of Kitchen Republic. I'm always curious to see, even though we're a business-to-business company, we don't target consumers directly. I'm always curious to see how many people have heard of Kitchen Republic. Oh, that's more than I expected, actually. That's good. Oh, that's good. Usually when we are invited to give, and I say we because Emma's here with me. She's my colleague. She helps me build the company. When we get invited to talk about our business, we usually always dive into explaining what a food business incubator is, how we started our business, what gave us the motivation to actually keep going, who the members are. And what the plans are for the future. But when I got the invitation from Robin and I saw the series title of A City Made by People, it required me to change my train of thought about how does Kitchen Republic, how do our members, how do we shape the city, how do we form the city? And in order to answer that question, we had to come up with a definition of what does it mean, a city made by people. And hopefully you also have experience in something that makes a lot of sense in your head but is difficult to explain to others. But we came up with the following definition. A city made by people is a city where every individual can have the opportunity to matter more in a world that increasingly makes you feel smaller. It means having the possibility to take up and own certain self-proclaimed responsibilities. Obviously, it requires a little further explanation to just throw this on you guys and thinking that you can figure this out yourself. The first sentence, when I say that there is a world that increasingly makes you feel smaller and smaller, I mean that in the past 50, 60, 70 years, ever since the Second World War, there has been an increase or a trend in centralizing power in business. Ever since the Second World War, big business was designed in order to give an answer to or solve the problem of a more cost-effective world, to make sure that globalization would increase and expand, and to make sure that consumer goods in general would be cheaper in order to create wealth and prosperity, and people would buy things, and that trend is becoming bigger and bigger. It seems like the only way for big businesses, and I think the first talk of Coffee Vine we talked about Douwe Egberts taking over small businesses is a big trend, and the only way for big business, like large corporations, to expand even further is either by acquiring or merging with other similar sized big businesses. And this creates a world where fewer and fewer people have total control of what we eat, what type of healthcare we take, what we buy in stores, in retail, etc., etc. And the fact that fewer and fewer people control what we do also makes that we as individuals have less and less influence on what happens in the world, and makes us feel smaller, which is a big explanation for the first sentence. The second sentence. It means that having the possibility to take up and own certain self-proclaimed responsibilities. What I mean by this is that I am fully convinced that nothing will happen. We can't change the city in a way that we want to. We can't make or build the city that we want to live in if we don't have a sense of self-responsibility. We have to be able to take control of what we do, and in my experiences it's building a business, owning a business, setting up a business, and the same goes for businesses that are using our Kitchen Republic. And this is actually one of the slides that goes with the first sentence to show you that less and less businesses in the world control more and more of what we do and what we eat. This is 10 businesses and all their brands. This is actually a picture from 2012. I also have a picture from 2015. I couldn't fit it on a slide, no matter how small I made it. It's actually expanded tremendously, and it's something that that we think is really a problem. But at the same time, I'm also an optimistic guy, and I see that there's trends, especially in cities in the US and now more increasingly in Europe. There's trends that give possibilities for small business owners, small entrepreneurs, to actually make a name for themselves and to start taking the city back. For the Dutch people here, in the news in the past couple of weeks, we've read that a lot of big businesses, branch organizations went bankrupt, such as the Van Dreesman Macintosh stores with all the shoe stores. I think they own about 12 to 15 shoe stores in the Kalverstraat alone. They all went bankrupt. And the DA. In the same week, we read that more small business owners were taking over space in Amsterdam and in the city center. So this creates something that we can take back the city, and we can shape the city in the way we would like to, we would want to. And also events such as this, a city made by people by Centenary in collaboration with the makers, but also certificates that are being handed out now by Amsterdam Made, and also the increase in number of incubator programs, accelerator programs, really prove that there's this new trend that gives people more influence on how to shape the city. And well, how does this tie into what I'm actually doing? When I started working, I worked as a buyer for Coolblue. I bought television sets, MP3 players, nothing really inspiring. And I asked myself the question, okay, how do I matter? Do I matter? And the answer was, in some respect, yes. Family and friends, hopefully I mattered. But in business, how do I put a stamp on the place that I live, or how do I put a stamp on the place that I want to live, or the world? And the answer was negative. So I started thinking, what was the most inspiring thing that I've ever seen in my life? And I thought back of my college years. For a little while, I studied in San Francisco, in Berkeley, where I had a friend who had his own catering business. He worked out of a shared kitchen of about 10,000 square feet in Oakland, actually. 10,000 square feet is about 1,000 square meters. And I walked in, it was a completely open space, and there were about 50 businesses working from there. 50 caterers, producers, you had people that brewed coffee, or iced coffee, I don't know, cold brew, yeah. And there were Biggie Smalls was pumping through the speakers, and it was also almost like you were walking into a club, but there was people working, which is so incredibly inspiring. And that was really the one thing that gave me the inspiration to think, while I was working, sitting behind my computer, okay, well, I want to start my own business. I want to check to see if this is something that is already happening in Amsterdam. So I did my market research of about 5 minutes. I Googled, I looked up how many times is the term kitchen for rent in Amsterdam being searched for. It was about 5,000 times per month, with no good result. So it was actually one and one makes two. Let's travel to the US to see a few other kitchen incubators, a few other kitchens, to see how it works. And that's when I arrived in, I went to Washington DC, New York, back to San Francisco to visit a few other kitchens as well. But the most inspiring one was in Washington DC. It's called Union Kitchen DC, which is really now the role model for all kitchen incubators in the US. And I started working there for a couple of weeks just to see how it works. I had no experience whatsoever. I worked for Coolblue as a buyer. I studied history, actually, American history, and then more specialized African American history, so it had nothing to do with what I was doing. But it was so inspiring that I thought, okay, let's just do this. Let's try to see if this works in Amsterdam. And I started really slowly and developing my business plan. But then all of a sudden I got a space, and I signed for the space, and then everything had to roll pretty quickly. But I still haven't really explained what a food business incubator does. What it does, foremost, is to lower the barrier to entry for food businesses. For many businesses, it's really easy to scale up or start your business. You need a computer, you need to have some knowledge of either design, or you need to be a good salesperson. and then you can take on your business from there. If people start their food business, they usually start from their kitchen at home. It's cheap, it's lean, but growing can be a curse, can be a blessing, but most often it's a curse actually, because you need to be able to invest in professional equipment, large amounts of space. You need to take the risk to sign for a long-term lease, and this is something that really a lot of people are unable to do. And Kitchen Republic, the food business incubator, first food business incubator in Europe, solves a lot of those problems. We provide 500 square meters of shared production space and equipment. So there's different food businesses that use the space together, share the space and share the equipment. And at the moment we have around 15 members, and all share the space and the equipment. And we give them access to knowledge through other members. So members share knowledge, share opportunities to sell with each other. And we also give them access to knowledge by experts. We organize events such as this as well, where experts in the food business come to talk and share their experience and share their business. One of the most important things that we have to provide for our members is the opportunities to sell. The food business is a business where the margins are extremely low and competition is extremely high. So people need a lot of experience and a lot of help in actually selling their product. So this is why we, for the last couple of months, have been working on retail partners. There's been retail partners in Amsterdam where our members can actually sell their products. So that's one of the ways that we want to make local scalable, and one of the ways that we actually help our businesses grow out of the kitchen. Our members pay a monthly contribution fee for unlimited access to the kitchen. They have a cancellation period of 3 months after the first 3 months, with a maximum period of 2 years. So the goal for the members is to actually grow out of the kitchen. That's our personal goal. But we don't really like about talking about ourselves. We don't have to grow. The businesses have to grow. Obviously, we can grow with them. I'm sorry, this is in Dutch. This is made by someone else. But these are some of the businesses that work out of our kitchen. We have G for granola for gangsters. This is actually Sarah, who is also part of this itinerary. We have someone that makes organic juices, Stad en Vat. There are 3 guys, Boy, Joep and Floris, who make whiskey. We have Pinchos, which is a Spanish caterer, based in Amsterdam, who's from Peter from Australia, who used to be a lawyer in Melbourne, was really unsatisfied, unhappy with his job. He took the responsibility, or he created his own responsibility, and he felt the need to matter more, so he traveled to Paris, took culinary lessons and patisserie school, and now he's in Amsterdam making the best, maybe a little bit too generalizing for Australians, but the best banana bread in the world. He actually sells to a lot of specialty coffee bars, just like Sarah from G for Granola, to Lot 61. He had first used to be a big client, so we're also sad that they left. Pinch makes incredible dumplings. Let's Salsa, she makes hot sauces and fresh salsas, also sells tacos at events. Wake and Bake, some of the people in the kitchen call her Fabulous Miss Eddie. She's from the US and makes the most incredible experimental patisseries in Amsterdam. And then we have Popcorn and people that make kimchi, Food Creative. I don't know if some of you heard of the first restaurant in Amsterdam without personnel. That was actually one of the projects from Edwin Sander from Food Creative. But I'm not allowed to have a favorite in the kitchen, but if I have to say, the vrouw met de baard, the bearded woman, is our all-time favorite. I like the grandparents in the kitchen. They're not really grandparent age, I think they're about 50. But what they do is they have a big very successful catering business, and they take all of the products from everyone else and they put it into their catering jobs. So they take, if they have something, they make tacos. They use the hot sauces from the salsa producer. If they have something that needs drinks, they take the juices from Brandstof Organic Juices. and Wake and Bake is actually their main supplier of bread and baked goods and stuff like that. So it's really becoming like a small entity or a small community, which is really nice to see. Obviously, we have plans as well. This is just a lot of pictures from the kitchen, which I have to show you guys. This is kimchi. This is Alexander Boyce from Onami. He makes kimchi. Next one is the whiskey guys. This is actually me, Emma and Sarah from Granola. Health Hack, they're not there anymore, but they made dinners for athletes. So these are some of images inside the kitchen. Bright green ceiling. Last one. This is Luke from Pinchos. Yeah, well, one of the most interesting things to see in our kitchen is that most entrepreneurs, most businesses are people from either from the US, the UK, or Australia. They make up more than half actually of all our members. One of the reasons I think is that these people are already entrepreneurs by themselves because they live in a foreign country, which requires some sort of responsibility and a feeling to explore the world and be able to take more risks. And also another reason is because they see their products in their home country and they see that it's not here yet, so they take it back to Amsterdam and think, okay, it's big in my country, I'm going to make it big over here. And a lot of them are being successful. Some of them have it a little bit difficult, especially with scaling up. And that's something that we have a goal as Kitchen Republic. The idea that it's easy to make money or to build a business in the food business is it's ridiculous. Margins are incredibly low. You can't sell directly to large retailers such as Albert Heijn or Jumbo. You have to start with markets. You have to start with local stores, and maybe in Amsterdam you can get your product at market with a queue. But that's basically the biggest you can get in Amsterdam. And if you've achieved all that, you're still not big enough to make a full living out of it. So that's becoming increasingly difficult. And we see as Kitchen Republic that there's a big need for us to expand our kitchen, expand our production facility to almost factory style kitchen, where people can actually produce on a daily basis and produce enough for them to actually make a business and legitimize their business. Obviously we want to expand to other cities as well. Rotterdam is on our target list and Antwerp is on our target list as well. What we want to do is we really want to create like an umbrella, Kitchen Republic umbrella over all these startup food businesses and help them grow their business as quickly and as profitable as possible. And I think that's it. If there's any questions, let me know.